Not exactly hidden. The larger mushroom above shakes and small glowing spores spread everywhere even as the earthen wall sinks back into the ground, and more of the mushroom forest begins to glow as the brightness and sense of something else watching them. The air seems to fill with glowing light, and the shadows of the mushrooms vanish entirely and expose the numerous hidden people in the area. The silence is broken by the bang of a gunshot, and one of the bounty hunters screams in shock and pain as her laser rifle shatters in her grip. Bike leans out of the van while still holding on to the Gobi woman by the back of her shirt. So are we going to keep brawling or not? The hell just happened? The massive Agula demands from the place where she and Onyx were trying to mutually get each other in a submission hold. Onyx had to be really careful around her head with the horns, but the Agela had to do likewise as Onyx has a lot of sharp teeth. Good question. Sorcerers. The fuck? Bike demands and Morgarkon pauses. Is that you, Morg? Yes. The mushroom forest has awakened. We have a new dark forest on Lilb Tulelb, Morgarkon announces. Kinda bright for a dark forest. Bike notes blandly, and the Gobi in his grip suddenly seems to come back to life and shifts around in a berserk fury. Put the Gobi down gently, human. The Agila orders, and hidden by his visor or not, Bike rolls his eyes hard. Back the hell off or things will get worse, Bike remarks in a casual tone. Work on your intimidation, Tiny. The Agila returns. Lady, I'm enjoying this. I don't want you to stop. My last big mission was a fucking horror show that required a silly amount of cleanup after. This promises to be a fun afternoon with the boys. I want you to keep fighting so I have an excuse to keep breaking things, Bike says as his tone deepens and his smile goes from amused to borderline feral. Are you crazy? The Gobi demands. You don't get through the training I did without a bit of adrenaline addiction. Bike remarks as he lets the smile drop a little and looks a little more sane. Still, Morgarkon, this is the win condition, isn't it? Enchanted Forest, you've got area control now, right? There's a collection of screams as the remaining bounty hunters in the area are suddenly grabbed by mycelium that refuses to be cut and held still. Yes, Morgarkon answers. I guess the party's over then, for now. You girls are beaten. So, it's a waiting game for the next batch. Next batch? How many are coming? I got into their systems before they nulled the area. This group was just the fastest responders and they had hacked the gear of other groups. The actual spotters aren't here yet and this group had been hacked twice themselves. There's more to come. Perfect. Time to test out the strength of the mushroom forest, Morgarkon states before raising his arms upwards. The fungal and stone armor on him makes the gesture outright ethereal as the pale green light spreads from mushroom to mushroom faster and faster. The ground shakes and shifts as the mushrooms begin to space themselves out in such a way that it forms a comfortable canopy above them, and smaller mushrooms begin to grow between. There we go, thriving in all its forms, safe and protected for those that wander within and plenty for the artisans to work with. Morgarkon notes as Magi Kemka finally emerges from behind the larger mushroom as she stares in awe. No sunlight, but as bright as day. Not quite. The light is far frailer, but it comes from nearly everywhere so it doesn't need to be as strong, Morgarkon corrects. Getting the vans out of here is going to be a pain, Bike remarks. I've just lost all visual on the targets in that shift. Furthermore, we've got more incoming, but they've seen the area shift and are backing off. Tang relays from his communicator, and the ones under the cap seem to have the fight taken out of them. I think the party's over for now. Bike replies. So, do you want to be the one to tell Air Farce, Mr. T, and the Hat that the fun's over? Tang asks. Oh, probably not. We need to dispose of those garbage munitions we grabbed from gangs, Bike remarks. And practice is always helpful, Tang replies. All right, I've got a good visual on the other teams. We've got a huge mixed race all crammed into a single vehicle, a quartet of Apuk in an old cruiser that are now landing on the caps and taking a look around, and what look like, oh boy, you've got some incoming, they look drunk. Drunk? Bike asks. I think they just hit the accelerator, Tang remarks. Brace. Brace? Are they? Bike demands before there's a crashing and screaming sound from above and everyone looks up, including the goby he has yet to let go of. What was that? The little green woman asks. Drunken idiots crashing into the mushroom caps, Bike remarks. He sends out a ping through his coat to try and hook up into the systems of the car above, but the link is tenuous and fails before he can actually start to hack. There's a muffled yelling as Onyx steps away from the Agila, and the other massive woman learns she's not only tied up, but securely, and is not going anywhere anytime soon. Morg, care to drop these idiots and their toy here at the edge? They may be here for a scrap, but they're not ultimately bad people. Bike asks as he swings the Go-Bee back into the van and hops out. Hang on, this is a different sensation to what I'm used to, Morg Archon says as he makes a slow, sweeping gesture and one by one all the hunters after Magi vanish. Very nice. Where did you send them? Bike asks, sounding casual but somewhat put off by just how much area control the sorcerer just displayed. Near the edge, they're on top of the caps and in the rain, but unhurt. Morg Archon states, and Bike nods. Well, that was fun. I dare say that level of control makes this place borderline untouchable, especially if it has the same heat-drinking power of Serbo's dark forest. Onyx remarks as she brushes off dirt and mud from her person before she runs Axiom over herself to bake what's wet on her bone dry, and she begins to beat it off of her. I'm going to need a good, long bath after that little mud wrestling match. It's hard to keep your fur glossy in combat. I'll take your word for it. Morgarkun notes even as he kneels down and holds out his hand to cause an entire array of many different mushrooms to spread. I have a lot of learning to do. This was an amazing success, but it's like opening a doorway in your library to find out that there's another wing of equal size just beyond it. So much more to learn and read. It will take decades before this forest is truly understood, centuries to master. And that's if your buddies don't start spreading dark forest everywhere there's an Apuk presence. Bike remarks before turning and watching as Tang finally finds a place between two large mushroom caps he can drop down through, and then he all but bounces off the mushroom. The water is pouring down into the area. Tang lets out a piercing whistle of awe as he looks around. Well, this is interesting. I think I had a dream like this once. Really? Morgarkun asks. To be fair, it was when I found out I had developed serious lactose intolerance and had eaten an entire pizza for dinner the night before. Tang remarks as he pulls off his sniper's veil and then shakes his head a bit to get some of the water out before looking around again. Damn, I thought you were setting up a defensive area, not an entire fortress. It will be very easy to stop or kill anyone trying to get in here. Morg Arkin says absently as he examines the mushrooms and seems to be almost caressing one of the thinner ones with bright blue splotches on it. Well, damn. Guess we're just the bus service when the little lady's done then, Tang remarks as Morg Arkin lets out a pensive sound. Something wrong? This one has medicinal purposes. It will encourage blood clotting in many races and help stop people from bleeding out. Too much, though, will cause the flow to be cut off and can kill someone. Morg Arkun notes before standing. He suddenly is to the side and then considers as he's feeling something and Axiom is sweeping around him in odd patterns. Interesting. What's interesting? Bike asks. Is it a problem? No, but it's odd. A sorcerer can go anywhere the dark forest touches instantly in woodwalking. But it will take me longer now to return to Serbo, Morg says, and Maggie Kemka looks startled. Are you no longer a sorcerer? she asks, and he tilts his hand from side to side. I've attuned to this forest, which means that I'm more distant from the dark forest. It's still there, but it will take some time to safely switch which one is the forest I belong to. And that is the forest I will have the most power from and can go to and move within with ease. I can still feel the dark forest, but it's so faint, as if it's merely keeping tabs on me. Morg Archon explains. That is interesting. Whatever trick that the dark forest uses to make woodwalking so easy and effective seems to have a bit of a limit on it. Yes, I'm a mushroom sorcerer now, I think. A Lilb 2-Lelb sorcerer. A bright sorcerer? I'm not sure what kind of name will be used in the end, but yes, this is very different. Morg Archon notes before suddenly he's walking up to the first mushroom where this all began, and his stone and mushroom armor is still standing where it was. He kneels down and examines where the small patch of dark forest fungus is incorporated into the main mushroom. It's not a new species, but it's not a parasite anymore either. They are in unison, not fighting each other, but working together. Morg Archon notes as he places his hand on the firmer patch of dark forest mushroom, but his fingers almost sink into the softer Lilb 2-Lelb mushroom surrounding it. What does it mean? Magi Kemka asks, as she bends over to examine it next to him. I'm not sure. There are many possible meanings, but finding out which one, or ones that will take time. Morg Archon states before he senses something, and he turns just in time to see his armor of mushroom and stone walk 3 steps and then trip against a small stone to shatter against hard-packed dirt and mycelium. Did you do that? Bike asks. No, I did not, Morg Archon says as his eyes shimmer in fascination. The forest is learning and experimenting. And this place just got even cooler, Tang remarks with a grin. His gun then twitches just a little as a torso pulls itself out of the ground and rises up on malformed, mushroom-growing legs and then collapses in on itself. Wow, Magi Kemka breathes out. It's trying to stand. It beautiful. Why is it that so many people struggle to understand that the forest is alive? This one is now as well. It's merely younger than the dark forest. Morg Archon states, and he suddenly goes somewhat still as many glowing spores surround him closely, observing him with an intense focus. Like this, Morg Archon states, taking a step to the side, a few forward and then to the other side. He then takes a few steps backwards. Tell it that 4-legged forms are much more stable and probably a lot easier. The balancing act that bipeds use is a little advanced, even for us at times. Bike remarks, and there's a scream nearby, and he climbs up a bit to see that one of the drunken hunters found a gap in the caps above and fell onto a smaller mushroom before slipping off and dropping into a growing muddy pond. Case in point, Bike saunters around the van as Jade giggles at the sight of the woman floundering in the mud, and Morg is suddenly crouching down next to the massive puddle and balancing easily on a hardy patch of mycelium growth that lets him stand firm on what would otherwise be slippery mud. He considers for a moment, then he grabs the fool and pulls her up and into the stream of water so it washes her off and then guides her away. He vanishes with her before there's a shifting in the glowing of the mushrooms above before Morg returns about a minute later. They're just drunken thrill seekers. They're sleeping it off near the edge now, Morg explains as he walks back in. That was nice of you, Tang remarks. They hurt themselves even more than the mushrooms here. They're no threat to me or anyone here at all, so why treat them like one? Morg replies before he looks up and smiles. I've learned so much in my life, only to learn that I've barely started. It feels good. It feels really good. That's the spirit, buddy. That's when you realize that you can do just about anything. You just need to push, Bike says, and Morg nods. The sorcerer takes in a deep breath of the nearly glowing air, and his thumbs slip into his belt as he just gazes upward, taking it all in.